proud of the fact that when I was thinking as to what was unique about this conversation, and I made some pointers, the same pointers are what all of you have put in your responses to that Mentimeter question, which just shows how well you have learned to be able to take from the client's conversation, connect it to what the coach said, then make sense of why the coach did what he did, and appreciate it. And after that, I think all of us faculty members don't need to say anything, because almost every point that emerged was correct. Great observation. I really had no new points to bring. And that is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. Yes, you all have picked up the who, and this was a who, and this is for the advanced level and the mastery level students who will understand this. Core level students may just kind of just want to hear this. The who had a different fabric this time. We've learned who with values and beliefs and assumptions, and this who has gone to another level. And that was a good catch that all of you did. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Yes, and thank you to everybody for your amazing observations. That's what makes the collective learning also so powerful. Leona, would you like to share with us as well?
I'm so grateful that I am in this session today, because today, actually, I was coaching a client with similar issue. And I think I can do better. And by observing how Ben coached the client tonight, my next session, I will take a more similar approach, because the client was still reacting to what's happened to themselves. And in fact, the search is more internal. So next time when I go back to my client, I will get my client to ground herself and make the whole session more focusing into an internal search, instead of dealing with the reaction the client's got.
Thank you so much, Leona. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I also see we have Martina here with us today. Martina, would you like to share as well?
Thank you so much, Azadeh. It was a brilliant session indeed. And we often find clients like those in a very reactive mindset. And it was so beautiful how the coach really, very carefully addressed the client to step a little bit backwards and really operate very, very, very carefully around the client. So for the client to give him more space and really look internally and give him the acknowledgement actually, and the confidence to step a little bit backwards and go deeper and have a closer look what it is really he's dealing with. So that was just so brilliant and so brave also from the coach to not let him go, but carefully, step by step, get a little bit closer to the real issue of the client. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. It was a great lesson to learn.
Thank you, Martina. Yes, and I can see that Ben has placed in the chat box, the coach was coaching the client at his unconscious level, how he was reacting to his reaction at his conscious level. Yes. So one thing that I really want to appreciate and highlight here, first of all, is, which I think we want to congratulate Ben as well. And I just want to open a parenthesis that he has been not feeling so well, which is why he's writing here, since his voice is not, he's not so easy for him to speak. But regardless how he has navigated through this conversation, one of the highlight points that I think all core level students can also relate to and see is how diligently, right at the beginning, how cleanly the coach puts the bullets on the table, and how Martina was saying a few times, the coach says, I'm just going to put these on the table and invite you that we carefully walk around them together. And it really was as though the coach was very thoughtfully, with pause, putting those pointers on the table. So I'm wondering if, yes, thank you. I was just going to ask if one of the faculty members, Alina, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I'm just continuing with your point, Azadeh, which you very beautifully began, that the coach put everything on the table and tried to create a distinction in the client's mind of how he was perceiving his reality, just made him wear a different lens, isolated all those many little details of the story, which were all like intertwined in his story, the people, the situation, their behaviors, them. And it was easy, if it would easily be something that any coach would get kind of sucked into, if I may use that word, because there's so much there. But to be able to isolate all that and say, this is you, and all this is in the situation. Now tell me you are looking at this way, which is, which if Ben says it is tough, then we know that it is tough to be able to, because of values coming up. Oh, fairness. So is he talking about fairness? Oh, is he talking about other people, etc., to be able to do that. So, yeah, I think ontological coaching is, that's a great example of that one. Thank you, Azadeh.
Thank you. And I think also at the beginning, even at core level, we speak about how the client being in their situation comes with the perspective of, this is my situation, very much in it. And although they are maybe already seeing something that they see they want to work on or deal with and what they want out of it, there is this inclination or forward movement of the client to want to move ahead with, how can I make it disappear or brush it away? And this is where the coach's invitation is bringing the client to learn, first of all, about themselves, what is actually their experience in the moment, connecting to this emotion. I'll just read what Ben has put. The emotion was used as a window to open the world. If the it has not surfaced, the conversation might take longer to experience a breakthrough. So yeah, I'm just wondering. Go ahead.
Is one more there? That's a good point. I thought you could use that one in the chat box. Ben's one more comment, who includes, that's also a very nice one. You may want to read it out.
I didn't see that one. Would you like to read it, Alina?
Yeah. So when we were talking about the who, he's written there, who here includes emotion, personhood, past, and wisdom. So here the recognition of who went beyond the one that we normally do into these newer aspects. And that's the piece which is really wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was like the coach's invitation is not about dwelling in what has happened, but allowing the client to connect to the experience and to bring it forward towards their wisdom and learning. Thank you. So just wondering if anyone else wants to share at this point something that really stood out for you. Faculty members are here to support, and also the coach named it Angry Naufal.
What is unique is the personhood. That's what he's written there, which is something that is to be learned from. The submission to the client saying, have you seen the comedy, the animation show Angry Birds? And then just smile and wait and hold the silence for the client to kind of process what is being said, and say it with such innocence and positivity that the client doesn't misunderstand it, but kind of knows what's there on the table to pick up.
I do want to touch on what Ben writes here. The coach also noticed the client's refusal, and I'm curious if anyone noticed as well. There was as if this sense of wanting to brush away and not jumping into that, and how careful the coach was with that, not taking the metaphor and continuing or persisting on it, being so careful what he puts forward and really inviting. We can see the invitation rather than this is what it is, and slowly allowing. It was like allowing for a flower to open. Yeah. Janet, would you like to share?
Yeah, just picking up on Alina was saying that when the coach mentioned was an angry bird and just waited, he didn't just wait in silence, he did playful stuff with his head. And it was kind of like an invitation. Do you want to play with me? Am I reminding you of when you watched with your boys? And the other observation I wanted to make is that he purposefully mentioned the two sons. First of all, he thought it was one son, no, it's two sons. And like, we wouldn't necessarily say, okay, let's talk about the client's family. But in this case, it was fantastic opening because he got into the generational side of child, 15-year-old, 40-year-old. And I thought that what we saw tonight was quite similar to what we saw in the recent coaching session, where we saw the coach to go back into a moment in time, which was the 15, just like in the other night, we had the pre-moment before he lost his passion. And then we had the current moment where he's 40 tonight, and the other night it was, you know, where he found his passion. And it was something about the playing with time and space. And goodness knows what he was doing, but it was lovely to watch.
This is amazing observation. And this is what Ben means by this cannot be taught, but caught. We'll be happy with whatever we catch. I'll just say that.
Absolutely.
He throws a lot of sweets. Whoever catches whatever they catch, we're happy with what we catch. Well caught. And I think, yeah, there is a lot for us to. I was just wondering if there's something else that is. I'm just going to read what Nupur said. I love the moment when Ben mirrored Naufal's gesture and body language, while the pause that led to the acceptance of anger. Yeah, I think there was so much, I really, you know, so much carefulness with this what we want to call it, resistance or refusal, in so many ways, in body language, in the tone of voice, in the pausing, in the playfulness. So really, and even sometimes confronting, really challenging, and really putting things out there. Is it anger or is it something else? No, you got to say, what is it now? And then it was like, boom, anger. And I really want to say this is something that thank you for clarifying, Ben. Today we witness refusal. It's not resisting. There's also some degree of denial. Thank you for sharing that, Ben. And I think one thing that is very powerful is, I guess, what we always say in the back of our mind, we cannot see ourselves. And when we are thinking in the same manner, and we cannot see how we are reacting or acting. And this is what is so powerful when someone is able to put this in front of us so clearly. And I think something that I'm really appreciating is, perhaps this is where I personally see a growth opportunity, is being bold enough to put this on the table. These things, well, you have to first of all catch it to put it on the table, but having the courage also to do so. Alina, go ahead.
Just adding to your observations, Azadeh, that right in the beginning, after he had been able to, like I said, isolate the situation and say, this is about your reaction. And after having said that, he offered it back to the client to say, so what is opening up? Which is pretty much early in the conversation. What is opening up? It is actually the layered approach saying, okay, we opened this and I'm putting it there. Now what's opening up? Then invited reactions, responses. Based on that, the next level came. So the layers kept coming. That is really something that the coach was allowing the client to process and react back, and then take it ahead from there, one step at a time. And that was my observation.
Thank you, Alina.
Thank you, Azadeh.
I also see Sarah is here. Sarah Al-Zawawi, hi, welcome. Is there something that you would like to add? Hi.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Lovely to be here with you. Maybe I can add something for our core level students, maybe who are present with us today. So we always say, in reflecting back to our clients, we would like to reflect their experience and not the details of their sharings. So today was a really good example of that, where the client came with a story and details and a lot of thought that he put into his topic. But then again, his experience in the now moment towards his topic was not expressed. And this is what the coach did for our client. He pulled out that experience, that emotion, okay? And then the exploration was transformational for him. So maybe this is one angle of looking at it for them. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for that as well. Yes, so today's demonstration is an artful demonstration. And as we say, there are different layers of exploration. However, we can see, as Sarah was saying, that the basics starts with the fundamentals. Thank you, Sarah, for highlighting that. So I'm just going to read again what Ben was writing. So there, this is not resisting. There is also some degree of denial. And then he was saying that this was the client's defense. I can't really read it properly for some reason. Let me see.
Should I help you, Azadeh? Is that okay?
Thank you so much. Oh, I got it. This was the client's defense system at work, deny and rationalization. The coach needed to deal with the expectation, which was the second item. The client expected it to disappear, which is unrealistic. Later, the coach confronted the client on this. As such, the defense system was broken down. The coach then seized the moment in time and focused on the it. It was a close shot. Leona, would you like to elaborate on this a bit?
Oh, yeah. When I was observing, I see that actually the coach is quite challenging to the client. And now from the hindsight and with all this sharing, I can see that it's coming from a space to confront the clients running away from what is with the realistic side. And that's why the coach stretched the client that way with care. And I really appreciate it. And I'm reflecting on that because I always like to please other people when I'm coaching, and confronting is something probably I'm not good at. And for the benefit and for the service we are providing, probably that is something I will take on more in the future.
Leona, I'm not sure whether I would like to do that.
Ben, you have to continue. You can write it. I'll read it.
No, yeah, that's part of it. It was already a cool shot. I was absolutely clueless as to how I'm going to end the conversation. It was not getting anywhere. Seriously, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah. And there was no other alternative except for me to confront the client heads on. Right. There was no other shot that I can call upon, coach on the clients based on what success experience he had in coping with it. It will not work because the clients were so self-aware, and then fully committed, right? So going that direction, I'm not sure how effective that might be. What other what other alternative do you have? Seriously, I'm not sure. I really have no other yeah, except to confront the client head on and deal with it based on what the client is refusing. And 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 it's going to be very tough fight because you do not know what will be the odds, 50 against 50, right? You're actually confronting someone. How many of you love confrontation? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not sure. If you if you have power at your hand and you know that in this confrontation you have an upper hand, that's fine. But in this confrontation, you cannot be direct. You cannot tell, okay? And you can only reflect and invite. So in many hands, this is not the kind of confrontation that you like to be in, right? So what I think we can be encouraged with is that as we learn to continue to advance in our skill set, okay, don't just stay at core levels. Okay, the core levels is inadequate to power you up for any impact. It might be good to help people to set some goals and learn something about it. Consider the fact that there's nothing, no resistance, no denial, no refusal. Everything is just okay, you know what I mean? But if you are really wanting to work deeply with the clients, or you encounter such a case where people are just so helpless in terms of what they're dealing with, then the core level is just not enough for you to be of any service to your client, right? Even for those who move on to the advanced level, you have to now trust the elegancy of the competency to allow you not to like attack the client, but to be able to kind of like more of like, okay, this is what I'm hearing, then able to look at more of like the who of the client and say, invite the client, say, what do you think about that? So I think that's where the advanced level kind of prepared you to have a more elegant, fluid conversation. And then moving on to continue to pursue, to learn more about the science of change, to help you to truly crack open this conversation. Can do? Right, good. Well, there's a lot of ways to coach. There's no right way or wrong way. But what you have witnessed is what I call a science-based approach. As in, I'm able to recognize what's the defense mechanism at work. Okay, which is basically a denial and rationalization. But that's just only on the surface. But what is really difficult here is a kind of change called refusal. Refusal is much more difficult to coach compared to resisting. Okay, resisting at least is an active force that you can tap into and notice and then get the clients to talk about it. Refusal is basically simply, I can't be bothered. And that's a very challenging one. There's a saying that I prefer you either cold or hot, but not lukewarm, right? So initial is quite challenging because initial means nothing is happening and you have to break the power of inertia. Okay, and I think refusal happens to be in this category of breaking the initial inertia to get momentum. So today you can see how the clients was being coached at an unconscious level. Okay, all the invitations to notice are all outside the client's conscious knowing. And that's where the defense mechanism is at the weakest, because defense mechanism works on consciousness. Okay, when the client has to now notice things that is unconscious and look at things that wasn't really paying attention to, like, yes, I'm angry. No, no, no. What exactly? No, 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 no. Good. So what exactly? Okay, fine. I'm angry. So are you sure you're angry? Yes, I'm angry. Good, fine. So you are angry man. No, I'm not angry man. It's me being upset. No, you are angry man. Yeah, the angry bird. No, I'm not the angry bird. There's something else. Okay, great. It doesn't work. And that's the client, the coach has to come in and say, let's just stop it. But it was at that moment, the client game frame kicks in with the clients recognizing a 40 years old man and a 15 years old boy. And that was from the client's story. And that was a good observation. Now, again, so it's all in the science, right? If your science is strong, the moment an evidence surface up, you will be able to recognize it. So when the evidence of a 40 and a 15th appeared on the narrative, so that's a good sign, because it points that the clients has more than a rational mind to work on. The client has this gift called wisdom. And so it was at that point, the conversations turned over to the other side, where the coach coached the clients using the client's wisdom and tap upon the client's wisdom to gain awareness on the apparent 15th and 40. And like Janet has nicely pointed out, and that's where the coaching moment happens. What's happened in between a 15th and 40. And all that is using the client's wisdom to support an understanding that arises. And those understanding that happens in those moments are very subtle. Like the client's eye was just kind of like, flashes up just for a brief moment and then return back. So all those are the shifting moments that the coach notices that has shifted in the client's internal frame. And what is amazing is that the coach did not solidify those learning, but simply pause that conversation and ask the clients, so what's your final verdict? Who? So what are we walking away today? Some of you are crying already. I hear two things, less than 10 words, verbs and subject matter. How am I ever come to this where I don't even hear, except the coach say, I hear three things on the table and I'm going to put it on very carefully. The rest of it, I can't make sense of where is. What would you like to take away from today's conversation? Okay, don't be disheartened, okay? Partly because the whole entire framework lies in the ability to notice and observe what was on the table. And this is going to be a continuous, ongoing journey of us learning how to notice something that we all should be able to notice, but somehow cannot notice. But when it was being presented, yeah, obviously angry man, anger is on the table. Even blind man can see. Right? From your point of view as an observer, everything sounds so Ayo, trust me, it's not like this when I'm when you were the coach. I'm the coach, not that easy. Huh? So it will not from such case study by reversing it backwards, and that's where we learn from it. That's how we get to be more attuned to how to notice it. So far, so good. Great. So we have a couple of moments that why not open it up for a floor for anyone who might have questions that you would like to ask, like
And we have one in the chat.
oh, go for it, Amy. Go for it,
Amy,
Amy.
go ahead.
Sorry for the stupid question. I'm just very curious on the metaphor that you have used, Ben. It was
Yeah.
very specific. You mentioned about the angry birds, and then there was that subtle movement of your head. So I'm just curious, what made you decided to choose this metaphor, and what made you try this head moving part? Were you trying to mimic the movement of angry birds? Not that I play the game, but I was just curious because it immediately clicked for the client. It was very powerful.
I was trying to limit his 15 years old Naufal to see whether he can recognize himself, and I think he recognized that. And there are things that what we say that there's a Chinese wisdom here that we are 壁虎跳墙. That means you don't push the cat to the corner. There are things that you need to just leave it at where it is, because you need to understand that there is this integrity that cannot be that you cannot tear it apart, right? Because to confront the clients is already very challenging, and to confront the integrity of the clients, and I mean, at that point of time, I need to preserve the integrity of the client to make sure that the clients continue to remain whole in its fullest. And I think the best way for me to do that is to be a little bit more playful note there. You know what I mean? I think that kind of like gives that, you know, that special personal touch that is only unique to Ben. Okay. Okay, so each of us will have your own way of expressing it. You know, some of you might just say, hey, you know, how is that Angry Bird a representation of who you was? Okay, that could be just one way of bringing it, but that's not me. That's not my style or my signature. Is that helping for you? Is that landing for you, Amy?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. How many of you can identify with what I said about, you know, not pushing the clients too much and giving the clients a face to back off nicely? Right. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Any other interesting questions that you would love to, you know, love that I will give a comment? Patient, finally, you get to ask a question. Go for it, Patient.
Thank you, Ben, for this opportunity. So I don't know if this is an interesting question. I noticed during your coaching sessions, sometimes you close your eyes, and I'm wondering why you do that.
Oh, I only close my eye when I'm totally lost. Well, partly because I see better. I see better than I hear. So, okay, sounds oxymoron. Okay, close your eyes. When you close your eyes, how do you see? I actually see better when I close my eye. I know, Janet, can you shed some light? I mean, I'm not sure how best to explain. I think you're the best person to help us to understand what it meant by that.
Well, for me, the visual data contaminates. And so my understanding is that sensory information comes into the brain through our ears, through our smell, and it comes in a chemical form, and then our brain interprets it. But if I've got chemical data coming to my brain through my eyes, then it just messes things up. Yeah. So I completely relate to where you're coming from. And the power of our imagination is just so huge, and intuition happens there. And if you've got your eyes open and you're looking at, you know, the books behind someone's head or whatever, it's just horrible.
Yeah, yeah. So it helps me to really see what's happening to my client. You know, it's like even though my eyes is closed, but I can see my client so much clearer in terms of what he's saying, you know, versus if I open up my eye, I get more distracted because my mind kind of like gets in the way of trying to interpret and trying to already jump a few steps ahead, or it can't arrive at a certain conclusion. I only open my eye if I'm very clear this is where I'm going. And kind of like, this is where I'm going. I'm so sorry. This is where I'm going with you. And I'm not going to let you go with that, you see. So, but when I'm trying to pick up what exactly is the client's trying to express here, and when I cannot understand that by just hearing what the client is saying, I think the best mode for me, I won't want to say this is the best word, but for me is when, you know, it's for me to just close my eye. Yeah. Is that helping for you, patient?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so very much for that wonderful question. Great. Anyone else might be interested to have some few thoughts here? Yan is getting ready. So let's ask Yan. Yeah, she's all ready for one question. What happened to all our gentlemen? Nowadays, we barely see any guys around, right? Becomes a woman conference, you know, a girls' school with only ladies and no male gentlemen. That's weird. Okay, anyway.
You are part of the ladies team. Yeah, I was just really appreciating because at the back of my mind, right? Because when a client talks about a past or something, you know, somehow it might go into the realm of therapy. But in this case, I see that it is not, because the past is still part of the client, and is really appreciating what his past has, you know, still impact him in the current present. So I'm appreciating the coaching, the framework that really cuts through the clutter and really, you know, help him to define what that it is.
Yes.
Because I was struggling to understand what I understand he's relating in a very difficult way, but I'm not quite sure what that is. But I have a hindsight thinking that it might be something to do with anger, so that frustration come up. What I also noticed that he's very protective towards that anger, something that he hold very dearly for a very long time, that, you know, and yet he doesn't like it. So that's what I'm noticing. So I guess that's where the, you know.
Precisely. And that's why we kind of like at the later part of the conversation, you can see that it's more on just get over it. Because it's like, as you have pointed out, I don't like it, but I still love it, because that's where I draw my strength. Right? How do you deal with such a case like this? Well, my best solution is let's just get over it. As that's my way of saying that I surrender to you as your coach. There's nothing else I can do about it. So can I just suggest what else can we do now to get over it? Okay, Jenna, do you want to add a couple of thoughts here?
Well, actually, I do, because what I saw, it was the first time I saw what I read about, which I can only describe as the anger being part of every single cell of this person's body. And it's so much a part of his identity that if he gives it up, he may just fall in a splodge on the ground. But, you know, in a therapeutic context, somebody might have all sorts of different psychological systems. You know, we do this, we do that. It's like, you're better say, well, I don't know what to do with that, so just get over it. which is what my husband says to me sometimes when I'm like, oh yeah, but and he's like, yeah, whatever, get over it.
Yeah, just get over it. Okay, rather than just talk about it. Okay,
That's
let's
right.
let's move on with that. And so that's my pragmatic way of dealing with it. That is, I'm gonna get to that very quickly. So that my resolution is the bridge over troubled water between coaching and therapy, in which both seems to be on a dichotomy. But I beg to differ that it's not a bridge over troubled water. It's just an intersection between salt water and fresh water. And me as a salmon, moving from seawater to go to the higher land to breed, to spawn, I need to then quickly adapt my body to a fresh water and just swimming in fresh water, right? So, and the two will still remain distinctive. Salt water and fresh water will still remain distinctive, but there's always that intersection of the salt water and seawater, and we do see creatures how they are able to evolve their body in that moment, not over years and centuries, but in just a brief moment, how the body can quickly shift it from salt water to fresh water, just like mango swamp, who is capable of surviving in salt water by filtering off salt, right? So if we can do that, then I think that is a perfect blend, a bridge over two troubled water, seawater. The moment I say blend of coaching and therapy, I always get this is cult. And you have turned cultic. You have turned coaching into the dark realm, right? So I decided not to blend anymore. I decided to say, oh, it's a bridge between troubled water. Okay, intersection point of salt water and fresh water. Good. Now, I said that back to you.
Just with that metaphor you mentioned, is it salmon that has to actually go up the
Yes,
river?
go out the river from
They have to
seawater. They have to enter from salt water into fresh water,
and they swim upwards,
and they
up
swim
the river.
outwards.
Yes, which means that so there's something here, I think, that I want to wrap up with this week with that. Well, I started my talk sharing my own personal journey of letting go of a lot of old habits of behavior and thinking that has been with me for many, many years. And then following Lena's session where she said it's not change that is not easy.
Yeah.
It's the resisting to the change that makes it not easy. And that really stuck with me. And then today, seeing this is that although there is something that you really don't want no longer associate with, and you are not, but it's a breaking free of something. It's really a breaking free of something and a releasing of something that requires that stepping forth and that breakthrough, literally breakthrough. And one thing that I'm really appreciating is I am also very soft in nature. And before, when we had that direct communication as part of the core competencies, I never really understood it. I was like, what do you mean direct speak? But now I'm thinking, if there is no confrontation and there is no, I'm not saying you have to be challenging in a rough way, but if you are not confronting that which has been there for so long, it's like almost that breakthrough is difficult to happen. There has to be that disruption. And so this is one of my biggest takeaways of this week, is to really grow it as a coach also. So as a person, first of all, taking it inward, this process of really breaking free of the old and breaking into that new, being that flowing upward. And then that's how that I see for me as a coach impacts the way I'm able to also support a client in that way. Thank you, Ben.
Wonderful. Are we all excited to be part of the transformational movement of offering change that is like, wow, we are already not conventional coaches, okay? Let me just say that. Agreed. Okay, we are not the mainstream kind of professional coaches that, what is it that you like to walk away with by the end of today's conversation? Yes, we trained you in this manner for the purpose of teaching you how to not do that later on. Okay. Remember our rules? We learn the rule in order to break the rules. Okay. Because I've learned it so hard how to get the focus of the conversation right, that I learn it so well that I don't even have to ask it right now. Got it? But it's still always at the back of my mind. What was it that the clients want to focus on? But it's more of where the positive change needs to happen for the client. So it was based on that the whole entire conversation moved. Can do? Right? So have faith, have hope that you will be an outstanding professional coach, whereby the way you are able to observe what the client is saying will surprise yourself. Do you like that? Right, you surprise yourself with what you're capable of noticing. Cool. So let's quickly round it up with each person offering one thought for the day. Let's start with our friend on top first. That is Gozia. Gozia. Is that how I? Oh,
Małgorzata. Yeah, very difficult. Gosia, yeah, sorry, I didn't change my name. So yeah, Gosia, it's much
Gosha,
easier.
share with
Yes,
us
thank
what one thing that you're walking away with.
you. I think a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. That's how we become stronger, by learning from another coach and use that strength and build that into your own process. How about Martina? What are you walking away with today? Oh, she's trying to find. Oh, I'm using my mobile. I can't find. Where is that unmute button? Where's that little one? Okay, we'll come back to her when she's able to find it. How about Lydia? Lydia, what would you like to share with us? What are you walking away with? Oh, Lydia is also used to. Oh, here you go.
Yes, thank you, Coach Ben. What I've learned is that clients have different perspectives.
Yeah.
But depending on the coach, they later open up.
Yeah.
There was that issue of anger and force.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Isn't that
Yes.
a reminder for us again and again that this is a human conversation, that we need to approach it with grace and respect? Thank you, thank you. How about Marine from Romania? Thank you for joining. Oh, Martina is ready to speak. Marine, I'll come back to you later before she go off. Martina, you go first.
Sorry. One really big thing I took away for myself is if you sense that the defense mechanism is on, it's not about breaking, it's about bridging. It's about inviting the client, and it's about acknowledging.
Wow.
And I think that is very valuable, and it's a big piece to learn. It's not easy. It has very much to do with yourself, to be clear about where you are walking, which kind of steps you are taking. And you have to be very careful with a client to really acknowledge him and make him feel complete and be seen.
Well, isn't it marvelous to hear that the more we are committed to the work that we are doing, the more it actually helps us to be a better human being, right? Unless you really bother about the work. If not, otherwise, you're just doing what most professionals would be doing. And then it's such a pity that you will not get to benefit from it if you're just doing it professionally. Yeah? Great. Thank you, Martina. A strong reminder for us to really work, on yourself, on ourselves, and reminding ourselves constantly on the daily level. We are all human beings. Yeah? Great. How about Marina? You're able to share with us what is it that you're walking away with?
For me, it was very valuable how to support the client to walk into uncharted territories
Yeah.
and to see inside in a way that is not at war with, but to understand, to accept, and to move on, because the starting point was I am at war with this.
Yes. Isn't that scary to walk on uncharted ground together with the client when you
It is.
just don't even know where the conversation will eventually end up with?
It is, and it demands trust, and it demands respect.
Yes. Well said. So there's a lot of wisdom here that we can draw on from all this case study that is outside what most training can be taught in class. Now that it's place for that, there's also place in which we have such kind of dialogue. Well, great. How about Christina? Love to hear from you. What wisdom do you have for us today?
Oh, I don't think I got any wisdom.
Okay, nuggets. Do you have some nuggets for us? Is this, yeah, nuggets.
Well, I guess my little brain is whirring away. And I'm just thinking about how, there's so much to learn. And I'm thinking of a particular client in mind and thinking, I wonder if I can relook at that client through, the lens of what we've looked at today. Yeah, I think I was surprised by a lot in today's session, and so it really got me thinking a lot, but I'm not quite sure what I'm thinking yet. But yeah, mainly just that there's a lot to learn, and that it's exciting and challenging.
Yes, there's a lot of withholding that if you're going to learn one lesson today, that is the lessons learned as a coach on how to withhold oneself. While you want to push and confront, but the strength is not in confronting. The strength lies in withholding oneself. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In any conflicts and any fight, it's so easy to lose yourself in it. Right? But the greatest strength is to be able to withhold that power. So that's one lesson if we all can learn that well. Yeah. Good. Jenna, do you like to add on that?
Oh, yes, I do. Because when I saw you, what we're calling it confront, but it was you faced up to him. It's almost like two stags. He had frustration in his underbelly. I think you had frustration in your underbelly. You came at it with a strength. And I think his frustration met your frustration. And he suddenly thought, okay, no more messing around.
Yeah.
This is not somebody I can pull the wool over his eyes. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about, but you held back, but there's still happening on an unconscious level for both of you to pick up.
Well done. Well said. Woo! Lots of good stuff here, that we can really reflect even more of, later on. That Irene, you like to move on to share with us one thing that you're taking away? Then I'll get to Mona, and maybe who would like to close today? Maybe we have Sarah to close us tonight. Oh, we forgot Susan. Susan will say, and then after that, Sarah, you'll close us tonight. Okay, let's. Oh, I forgot Patient. Irene, can I come back to you later? Let me go to Patient first. Patient, we're going to honor you. What is one thought that you're walking away with today? Oh, Ona is back here.
For me, I'll be going out of these session with two words or two thoughts rather. One is everybody's battery works differently.
Yeah.
So I was shocked when the client said that anger and frustration is what has kept him over the years, being passionate about the things he did. I would think differently that being happy, being joyful would be what should have been the power the clients to do all those things, but everybody's battery works differently. And the second thing I'm walking away with is confrontation can be positive. It doesn't always has to be negative. And I used to think that we shouldn't confront the client so it doesn't end in a sad note, the coaching session, but the way you did it, it was wonderful. Thank you so much, Coach Ben.
Oh, thank you. We just pull out our big guns and just just add the conversation with a little of laugh. I also have a friend, 35 years, I know. I mean, that the human touch to the conversation, I think that is something that we can all learn. Thank you, Patient. We're so proud of you. From day one till now, you're faithfully attending each webinar. I'm sure you're going to grow leaps and bounds over the years. Over the years. Okay, let's turn to Chow first. Chow. Then after that, we want to honor Ona, to invite her to also share a couple of thoughts. Chow, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm afraid that you will forget me. That's why I try to turn on my video, even though the internet is not stable. Well, the biggest takeaway for me today is the confronting, because for me, it's not my nature for like doing something with very tough and confront and kind of thing. But then I learned something today about confronting through observation.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something I write down for me to take note and to practice, and everything come back to the first level of observing.
Yes.
Yeah, and observing is a very powerful way to make the conversation meaningful without we really fighting. And that's something I take away.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
We just confronted the client, say, hey, you just changed your statement. Right? You say you want it to disappear. Now you say you want to manage it. So what exactly are you talking about here? Right. So we're confronting it with an observation that there is a change in the client's intent, right? Which then make the client caught himself and say, no, okay. Yep. So what's the cookie in your mouth when you say you did not eat the cookie? Okay. Got it? Great. Thank you, Chow. How about Ona? Ona, love to hear from you. What are you walking away with today?
Hi, Ben. Hi, everyone. I'm a guest here. So a friend of mine is a student of yours, and he told me about your sessions. This is my first one. And what I really love about it, because I've done some other type of coaching, what I really love about what you're doing here is that you're learning by example. And I think this is wonderful, because this is how actually our brain needs and knows how to learn by example. And something I am on point with everything that you guys said already. But something I really want to say is that Naufal said he was trying to self-coach. And I think sometimes we fall into this thing that we are trying to self-coach because we are coaches. And what I'm trying to say is that not being able to help ourselves doesn't mean we can't help the other people. So we can be great coaches to other people, but we are biased for ourselves. So yes, that's it. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Nice experience.
Thank you. We are just human beings, and we are not immune to our own thing that we try to cure also. Right? We try to help our clients to gain awareness, but just remember, we also cannot gain our own awareness. Can do. Well done. Thank you, Ona, for this reminder. Let me see. We have everybody clear. Yan, do you want to say something? If not, then we have Mona. I forgot. Mona, would you like to quickly go first?
I would definitely like to say something, Ben. Thank you. I really appreciate today's session. And my biggest takeaway is be human to yourself, be kind to yourself, accept that you have weaknesses as a child. Those were defense mechanisms. And as you turn into an adult, you need to reflect on what is not serving you. You need to let go and just accept it as who you are, what you value in yourself.
Well
So be
done,
good to
well
yourself.
done. Great. So today was ironic that the client was never to ask to let go of that 15 years old. Never. The coach actually encouraged with that metaphor, 35 years of childhood friend, nothing has changed. So that is not asking the clients to let go, because the moment the clients think about letting go, the more the clients will fight back. So sometimes letting go is not the way forward, but just accepting it that this is what it is, but life still goes on. Right. That was within using the coach's own story. And I think the message of that was, was in good ground in the client. And I think the clients reflected that and say, yeah, yes, I don't have to now look back at the 15 years old and be resentment about it. Right? So that's the power of not letting it go. Everybody understood it? Reflect it further. Okay, because what I'm starting to appreciate with the new science that I'm creating, yes, science means you never get it right. Okay, science means you always try to prove yourself wrong. Okay, the science that I'm working on right now really has it was working with what I call bipolar polarity, right? Left versus right versus wrong, letting it go, embracing it. So it's like it putting things into two opposites. So it only creates tension, with dichotomy when you put two entities side by side. So my resolution is, let's dissolve the polarity. Let's dissolve it and see what happens when we don't see that is letting it go, that you don't need to let it go. But then the question is, what alternative do you have? Well, that is where the science here is, neutralizing the polarity, that is actually nothing in between here. Okay, that's why Jenna is able to kind of like catch the interesting signs of putting two things left, right. With these two polar, then there's a lot of gap in between here that can be uncovered. So that's what is happening today, that the client doesn't need to let it go. Yeah, good. Susan, would you like to go for it? And then Sarah will be able to close that. Oh, we have Irene. I forgot. Susan, would that be okay? Let's honor Irene. Irene, would you like to share with us your thought? And then Susan will go, and then here we go for tonight.
Thank you very much again, Ben. It's always a rich session watching you coach. There's always so much to catch than is taught in the class. And I think for me, what was so insightful for me is to see how you coach the whole person or the client and, supporting him through that process. One image that came to my head, the movie that I was watching, was when you are learning to walk again, there is a frame that you walk with. And it helps you, it becomes your support frame. It becomes what helps you to be able to learn to walk again. And then there comes a time when it becomes a safety place to be. And there's also a time when you consider, is it still serving me?
Yeah.
And those are some of the things I was processing in my thought as you were coaching Naufal today. And what is still serving me? What has served me for so long that's become a safety point for me?
Yes.
And at what stage do I want to really review it and redefine my relationship with it?
Beautiful.
And so that is something that's been very striking for me today. Thank you.
Well done. So let's just take what Irene has offered to us. Next time, not next time, tomorrow when you're coaching your friends, ask yourself, can I feel my discomfort? If you don't feel any discomfort, means you're coaching with comfort. Right? Is that a good challenge? Right? Do you feel the discomfort that, oh, yeah, I can feel because I do not know what else to coach my client here today? Okay. So that's the discomfort that you're feeling, and you be okay with that discomfort. You don't get panic, you don't get anxious. You learn to get comfortable with that discomfort because that opens up a brand new opportunity for you to charter into that. Great. Mona, would you like to go quickly before I ask Susan to share?
Definitely, Ben, I like what you just mentioned, staying in that moment of whatever you're feeling, it could be anger, it could be frustration, just feeling it with the client and staying there. I think what you did today with the client was just so beautiful. I mean, there was so much learning today. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you. And I certainly feel very frustrated. Yes, Janet. With the client. What is this? What is this? Okay. But learning to withhold it. Thank you. Susan, would you like to go next before Sarah closes us tonight?
Yes, thank you, Ben. It's been an amazing week. What I'm taking from today is an even more profound respect and appreciation for this profession we call coaching.
Yeah.
And for the skill that it requires.
Yeah.
There are so many moving parts, all the cogs moving at the same time. You are listening, you're trying to make sense, you're sifting, you're understanding, all at the same time. And so many of us have spoken about, confronting. But what does it take to confront? It means you listened. It means from a coach's perspective, there was an understanding. Something didn't make sense.
Yes, yes.
That observation we make, it comes through listening. You need to listen, but it is, what are we listening to? How are we listening?
Yes.
So, and it takes a skill. I mean, it is, there are people who, a lot of people who understand what coaching is. They feel, you're just talking. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I don't even have the words to express, the transformation and what it takes for us to elicit that from our clients within that space of 30 minutes to an hour. So that is what I'm taking and leaving behind.
Wow. Thank you, Susan. You're setting the benchmark very high for all of us right now. Everybody's starting to feel the sweat. But that's where the training is. And that's where we honor your profession with the training. Great. Sarah, would you have the final honor to close us tonight?
Yes, thank you, Ben. So I want to follow on what Irene shared. And the thought that came to mind is our confidence as professional coaches can be found in our openness to learning and continuous learning. So what I'm taking away today is just a reminder of my choice to be a lifelong learner. And there's like a little coaching incident that I'd like to share. So I was meeting with my coaching colleagues and we were discussing a new topic. And we each noticed that when each one of us spoke, the others paused and then they're like, I'm hearing you say, Okay, and then they'd reflect back what they heard from the sharing. And this was not a coaching session. This was an open dialogue. So really, really being a professional transformational coach is about it becoming a big part of who you are in life. So, and I'm
ladies,
very,
send your
very
husband
grateful.
to the class. Janet? Okay, so do we all have a great time learning? So we're going to take a break for